What do you dream about? Most people dream about their life experiences, worries, and fragments from their day. And most dreams incorporate sights, sounds, and emotions. Dreams can even transmit sensations of pleasure or pain. But on average, most people dream for about 2 hours every night. Sometimes a dream follows a storyline, and other times it seems a bit more random. Oftentimes, they can reflect our deepest desires. Our dreams can be romantic, or even silly, entertaining, and fun. Dreams can also mirror our fears. They can be disturbing, bizarre, or even scary. And on occasion, dreams can be used to send a message. After she moved into a new apartment with her daughter in Chico, California, Jodie Foster began experiencing a series of haunting events, and her dreams became much stranger, much darker. Little did she know, these dreams were giving her insight into a decades-old case of a former tenant, a woman who lived there and went missing in the 1970s. Her ghost was seemingly communicating through the haunting and through her dreams, giving her clue after clue. In January 2000, 33-year-old Jodie Foster and her 3-year-old daughter Hannah had just moved to Chico, California. One day, she was out looking for a place to live and came across a complex called Walnut Gardens Apartments. The complex seemed nice enough. Jodie was a single mom and just needed a safe place for her daughter to live and grow up. As she was walking around, Jodie saw a for rent sign in one of the units, apartment 14. She met with the property manager, got a tour, and after signing some papers, the place was hers. Jodie and her daughter packed up their car, and on January 31st, 2000, Jodie and her daughter moved into the apartment. Jodie loved the town of Chico. She said it was really charming and felt really homey, and she was really excited to get this fresh start there with her daughter. Moving into a new place is always a big thing. It's stressful, but also really fun to check out your new digs, decorate the place, and make it feel like home. But Jodie said she didn't feel peaceful when she moved into the apartment. She said it felt dark. She described it as a sense of impending doom in the apartment. She also said the apartment smelled strange. The first few weeks they lived there, things got disturbing quickly. One memorable thing was Hannah, Jodie's daughter, had this pair of pink tennis shoes that they kept on a shoe rack by the front door. She always wore these pink little tennis shoes, and one day, as the two were getting ready to leave, they went to the front shoe rack and the shoes were gone. Jodie looked all over the apartment, and when she walked into her bedroom, she found the shoes neatly placed in the middle of the bed. Jodie asked Hannah, "Did you put these here?" And Hannah said, "No, Mom, that wasn't me." And this happened again and again. Day after day, those shoes were always in the middle of that bed. And Jodie noticed other items would be moved seemingly overnight. To add to the unsettling activity within the apartment, Jodie began having these really bizarre, vivid dreams of people she didn't know. Specifically, one vision of a girl walking down a street in town. And as she's walking, she notices a couple in either a blue or gray car, and they ask the girl if she wants a ride. The entire thing felt really dark. Jodie would wake up startled and didn't know who any of these people in the dream were. They didn't look familiar. And this was not a normal or typical dream for her. Most times we're the ones leading in our dreams, but for Jodie, it was like she was seeing an event she had nothing to do with. A memory, but she had no idea what it meant or whose memory it was. Even more disturbing, Jodie began hearing her daughter Hannah talking to someone from the other room. She would hear her daughter in full-blown conversations, and when Jodie would ask her, "Who are you talking to?" Hannah would point and say, "That girl right there, Mom," telling Jodie that there was a young woman that was in the apartment with them, standing right there. And she described her to a T, saying she had brunette hair, what she was wearing. She saw this woman so often, she started drawing pictures of her, but only Hannah could see her. And she called this woman a name. She called her My Liz. Jodie would overhear Hannah talking to My Liz quite frequently. One evening, after Jodie and Hannah had returned to the apartment from dinner, they got back to a frightening scene. They found the receiver to the phone hung on the wall had been taken off and was found in a back bedroom. And in Hannah's room, all of her toys were in a pile on the floor. On top of the pile was a Sesame Street Ernie doll, a Muppet stuffed animal that Hannah liked, and Jody saw that tied around it was a shoestring. Jody then grabbed Hannah and ran out of the apartment and called 911. She made a police report but said she didn't feel like they really believed what she was saying. One night in February, Jody woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of loud static coming from the living room. She got up to find that the TV was on and white static was blaring, illuminating the entire room. Now, this was even more strange when you consider that Jody said this TV was a lot older. This all took place in 2000 and was one of the TVs you had to get up and turn on. And it wasn't Hannah, she was in her room asleep. And then Jody turned around to see her kitchen going haywire. Cupboards slammed open and shut. The stove burner was turned on high, flames blazing. And then from the next room, she hears the Ernie doll starting to talk. The electronic toy seemed to come alive. Jody followed the haunting doll's chants into the other room, and it was saying, "I feel great. I feel great," over and over and over. Jody ran over and took the batteries out. She shoved the doll in the closet, but the doll continued to talk with no batteries inside it. Jody was terrified, and then all of a sudden, all the electronics, lights, appliances in the apartment started flickering on and off on their own. Jody takes Hannah and runs to the apartment manager's door, who is actually her neighbor, and frantically tells her there's something really wrong in her apartment. So this manager runs in with her dog, and this dog starts going nuts, barking, and the appliances, lights continue to flicker on and off. And a cord to a lamp even starts swinging on its own, and this sends them all running. The manager, Jody, and her daughter fled the apartment in terror. A few hours later, as Jody was sitting outside of the complex, crying, an older gentleman approached her. He had lived at the complex for over 20 years. He saw she was really upset and told her, no one stays very long in that apartment. Jody knew this wasn't in her head. What she had been experiencing in that apartment was real, so to hear someone vocalize this was huge. Jody asked him why, and he said, "Well, there was a girl who lived in apartment 14. I can't remember her name, but she disappeared one day and has never been seen or heard from again." The case was a big disappearance in Chico. So this really spooked Jody. She didn't know her name, she didn't know anything about the case. But as the weeks passed, Jody continued to have more vivid, frightening dreams about this couple and this girl. In the dreams, they abducted her. Jody was full of anxiety and felt really overwhelmed. After 3 months, Jody packed up their things and the two moved out of apartment 14. In between the activity and the dreams, she hit her limit. She said she really feared for her daughter, and although she said 3 months doesn't seem like a long time, it felt like an eternity for her. They moved into another apartment in town and thought that was that. The haunting, the dreams, it was all over. It had to be. But not long after, a friend of Jody's was reading something and came across information about a woman's disappearance. The same woman who lived in apartment 14. Her name was Marliz Spanicki. Jody began reading about the woman's disappearance and was shocked. Along with the information was a photo of Marliz. And when Jody's daughter saw a picture of her, she instantly recognized her as the young woman she had befriended in the apartment. The invisible friend she had been talking to, the one she called My Liz. She said, "That was the girl in the apartment with us." Jody realized the gentleman from the apartment complex was right. Apartment 14 had once been the home to 18-year-old Marie Elizabeth Spanicki. Everyone called her Marliz. Marliz was from Cleveland, Ohio, and had only been in Chico for about 2 months. She had moved there with her boyfriend, John. Marliz was beautiful. She had dreams of making it big as an actress, but according to her family, she wasn't so happy in Chico. She told her sister she wasn't enjoying it as much as she thought she would, and was making plans to come back to Ohio in April and be with her family. But then, she vanished. On January 31st, 1976, Chico PD received a missing persons report. Per the police report, Her boyfriend John said the two had gone to the Chico Farmers Market one afternoon and gotten into a disagreement there. And Marliz left the market alone, upset with her boyfriend, and started to walk home by herself. John said he last saw her walking down a street called Mangrove Avenue. And Marliz was never seen or heard from again, and after a while, her case went cold. And 24 years later, Jody moved into the apartment Marliz lived in. And I mean 24 years to an exact day. Marliz went missing on January 31st, and Jody and her daughter moved into that apartment on January 31st. That is... wow. Years after her case went cold, Chico police got a tip about a woman named Janice Hooker, who had come forward and said that she and her husband Cameron had abducted and murdered Marliz, and her remains are somewhere in the woods. Janice was interviewed and seemed upset when telling officials this, saying that she feared her husband Cameron. After granting her immunity if she talked, she later told investigators that on that day, January 31st, 1976, she and her husband Cameron saw Marliz walking down Mangrove Avenue. She said they offered her a ride and Marliz accepted and got into the car with the couple. Very similar, if not identical, to the dreams that Jody was having. And from there, they abducted and murdered her. I will spare you a lot of the details from this case because I honestly wish I hadn't heard them, but just know it is beyond evil what this monster did to her. Janice said they disposed of her body in a shallow grave off a dirt road near Lassen Park. While they were never charged with Marliz's murder, Cameron Hooker was later convicted of kidnapping another woman, Colleen Stan, in Red Bluff, California, 1 year after Marliz's disappearance. Colleen was another young woman who was hitchhiking through town to surprise a friend when Cameron and Janice abducted and held her captive for 7 years. Until one day, Janice said that she was leaving Cameron and Colleen fled with her. When Janice confessed to all of this, her conscience was eating away at her, and Colleen was interviewed and confirmed all of it. Janice even took police to the area where they could expect to find Marliz's remains. But this area is miles and miles of really dense woods. With all of this, they only had Janice's testimony. Police didn't have a body or really any evidence, and ultimately, they didn't feel they had a case in regards to Marliz's disappearance and murder. Cameron was charged in Colleen's abduction, along with a string of other horrific charges, and during his sentencing, the judge said Cameron was the most dangerous psychopath he had ever dealt with, and he was sentenced to 104 years. But Marliz's case remained open, and her family continued to yearn for justice. Now, after Jody moved out of apartment 14, she said the year after, although she learned more about Marliz and her case, she said she felt at peace because they were out of the apartment, away from the haunting, and the dreams had stopped. But then, all of a sudden, the dreams started up again, and they were always of that couple. In these dreams, Jody said the couple, a man and a woman, seemed to be watching, waiting, stalking someone. And Jody began dreaming of this certain number, 35.76. She had no idea what this meant, but believed this could be a certain mileage associated with the case. She would also see the letter A and a 17, and thought that this again had to be tied to Marliz's disappearance. She thought that the paranormal activity from apartment 14 was over, but it wasn't. In 2008, feeling the supernatural push to do so, Jody called the Red Bluff Police Department and told them that she had lived in Marliz's apartment in Chico, and she felt she had to relay some information that may have to do with the case and a potential gravesite of Marliz. And on the other end of the phone, this detective was stunned. He couldn't believe the timing of this call, because he said they had just reopened all the files into Marliz's cold case. Just recently, the detective said he had never been so spooked by anything than by Jody's call at that moment. She didn't care if they believed her or not, she just felt she had to get this information out. Cold case units help ensure every unsolved case is reviewed using the latest and most effective investigative methods. New computer programs, new advancements in DNA. So Jody passed this information along, not sure what it meant, just feeling like she had to get this to police. This is an active investigation, so detectives really couldn't tell her much about the case at all. They just took her information, and that was it. And she really didn't know if it helped in any way. But recently, in 2021, detectives met with Jody, and it was confirmed that A17, the letter and number Jody was having dreams of, was confirmed to be a road close to where Marliz's grave site is believed to be. Very close. And the number 3576 is huge. Jody had dreams of this number over and over again. Detectives said that when they used mapping software and ran test after test, they believed the distance between the house Marliz was taken to and the grave site had a very specific mileage, because as per Janice's testimony, she took police to where the location was, the general area. And this system came up with a certain number, 35.77. Whoa, I'm pretty blown away by that. Again, this is an active murder investigation, so Jody did not have access to any of this information up until the past couple years. For so long, she had no idea what any of this meant. But through the haunting, through her dreams, she feels she was given the clues by Marliz. Jody believes that her ghost is sending messages to her, trying to solve her murder from beyond the grave. To this day, Marliz's remains have not been found yet, and her case remains open. Police are optimistic and continue to conduct searches, but the area is vast, and with every passing year, the search becomes more difficult. If you have any information on Marliz's case, call the Chico Police Department at 530-897-4911. This is one of the most mind-blowing and sad cases because it seems that Marliz's ghost has been connecting with Jody for years. Her daughter instantly recognized her as the spirit being in the apartment with them, and it is so supernatural that Jody felt this urge to call detectives and report the dreams of those numbers, just as they had reopened Marliz's case. Even the detective was spooked by this. It's like Marliz's spirit knew this all along and aligned it this way. I just so hope and pray that Marliz and her family get the justice that they deserve and her soul rests in peace. The 70s was such a big time for hitchhiking or hitching rides, but never ever get in the car with someone you don't know or someone you just met. I don't care how nice they are. I don't care how harmless they seem. You don't do it. Promise? Okay, good. In all of this, what transpired inside apartment 14, and even afterwards, makes me a lot more interested in the supernatural aspect of dreams, the significance of getting messages and seeing visions. I think a lot of times we just brush off dreams, because sometimes they can seem just like silly, random fragments of our day, but maybe they could mean something so much more. Maybe they could lead to something bigger, like solving a cold case and bringing closure and justice to someone who so deserves it. But what about you? Have you ever had a dream that you felt had a strong message behind it? I would love to hear about it. And if you're interested in learning more about this case, it was covered on Unsolved Mysteries. And I'm going to be really honest with you, it was a really difficult watch. The crimes discussed are horrific. So just a heads up, if you want more on this case, you can check out the newer season of Unsolved Mysteries, but it is a very, very dark episode. And I also hope to do this on Avery After Dark, but it's so important to me to normalize these types of stories where the supernatural realm can be used to help solve cases. It is a supernatural world that we live in. And maybe if people felt more accepted, more welcome to share their experiences, their dreams, we could get more cases solved. That would be incredible. This case really reminds me a lot of the Teresita Basa case I covered a few weeks back on the podcast, and also the David Chase case I covered on the podcast back in January of 2023. So if you're interested in more stories like this, check out those episodes. They are mind-blowing just like this one. But I gotta know, what are your thoughts on this case? Leave them in the comments. This one has really stuck with me over the past few days. Some cases just affect you differently, hit you in the heart, and this was one of those for me. And along with your thoughts, please let me know what cases you'd like to see next on the podcast. I love getting your suggestions. I want to bring the cases that you want to see to the show. I would be so grateful if you subscribe to this channel, leave a like and a comment, and share Avery After Dark with your family, friends, coworkers, anyone that you know that loves mystery. I hope you all know how much I appreciate the support. You all are the best. Next episode, I've got so much more coming your way. Until then, I'm Avery Ross, and this is Avery After Dark.